everybody, this is Nikki Bailey, the costumer here at CSA, and today we are going to be making an ear warmer, a scarf, and fingerless gloves all out of fleece. Let's get started. Alright, now that we know what we're making, let's talk about what we need. First off, we need fleece, and fleece comes in lots of different patterns, comes in solids and prints. I got these at Joann's, but you can find fleece at any store that sells fabric. The nice thing about Joann's is that they have these really awesome things called remnants, and a remnant is basically a section of fabric that's too small to put back on the bolt, so they sell them at a reduced price. These ones are actually 50% off of whatever their sale price is. So this project is actually something that won't cost you a whole lot of money to make. So we need fleece, and we need a tape measure, and we need straight pins, a pair of really nice fabric scissors. Make sure they're fabric scissors. Don't use them on other things, because you need them really sharp to cut the fabric, a seam ripper in case you mess up, a pen or a pencil because we're going to be making a little pattern of our hand later, and a fabric marker or chalk pencil. This is a little chalk marker that I got. I like to use it for tracing out our patterns. So, all right, that's what we need. Next, let's get to cutting. Okay, so for the first item we're going to start making our ear muff ear warmer. It's basically a headband, and we're going to be measuring out our pieces, and then we're going to be cutting them out. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure over 5 inches, and we're going to use our marking pen, and then we're going to make a little mark, and then we're going to take our other end, and then we're going to measure 21 inches. And then we're going to make a little mark. And then from our mark down here, we're going to measure 5 inches. And make a little mark. And then we're going to be connecting these two marks. And we're going to draw a line, because here's a little geometry for you guys. The distance between 2 points is a straight line. And we're just going to mark that out. All right. Okay, now we're going to cut that out. This is folded in half, so we're going to actually cut out both of our pieces. We're going to need 2 pieces of the fleece for our headband, and we're going to cut both of those out at the same time. So we're just going to cut that down there. Now we have a big long strip. So what we're going to do, this is folded in half. So then we're just going to cut that right in half. So then we have 2 pieces that are 5 inches by 21 inches. All right, so here is one of our finished products. This piece right here is going to be the headband piece. And then the next piece we're going to be cutting out is going to be for the little piece that goes around to make the actual bow, to make it look like it's got a little bow on there. If you don't want to do the bow part, you don't have to. You can just make a solid fleece headband, but I think this one's really cute, so we're going to make it with a bow. You need a piece that is 3 inches by 4 inches, and you only need 1 piece because we're going to be folding it in half when we sew it together. And I've just taken a little piece of scrap that I had. So we're going to take our little measuring tape, and we are going to measure out our little piece. So we're going to do 4 inches by 3 inches. So we're going to and just like we did before, we're going to connect our 2 dots. All right. Got that little rectangle, and then we're just going to cut that out. All right, so now we've got all of our pieces cut out, and now we get to sew it together. Okay, now that we've cut out all our pieces, we're gonna take our two 5" by 21" pieces and we're gonna lay them on top of each other. And fleece, the nice thing about fleece is a lot of time it doesn't have a wrong or right side. So you can lay them on top of each other however you choose. And I have pinned along the edges that we're going to be sewing. We're going to be sewing along a line there, and then we're going to be sewing a line there. All right, so let's get to it. I am using, usually I like to use the edge of my presser foot for my seam allowance. If you want to do more of a seam allowance, you can. But I usually use the edge of my presser foot as a guide. All right, so we're gonna sew and then we're gonna back stitch. Don't forget to back stitch. And then we're going to just do the same exact thing on this side. Alright, so we got both of our sides sewn. And make sure to cut off your little thread tails. You don't want those. Alrighty, and then the next thing we're going to do, this is the part that wraps around our headband to make it look like a little bow. And we're just going to sew. Trim off our little threads. And now what we're going to do, for this one, I'm going to trim the seam a little bit because we are going to turn these inside out. And sometimes if you have too much seam allowance inside your item that you want to turn inside out, sometimes it kind of looks lumpy. So, all right, and we're going to turn this inside out. Alright, so flip that just like so. There we go. There we go. The little one can be a little bit tricky because it's a little tight. Alright, so we've got that turned inside out and we've got our headband part turned right side out. And now what we're going to do is we are going to do something called a finishing stitch. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to take our two seams that we have sewn and we're going to make sure that they are really flat, really pushed out, and then we are going to do a tiny little seam, not as big as our presser foot, but just a little seam. Looks like it might be about 1/4 inch. And we are going to sew all the way down just like we did when we sewed our two pieces together. Sometimes you got to give it a little wiggle to make sure that your seam is out all the way. All right, so it kind of looks like a really nice little finished edge, and we're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. So this headband is almost finished. Now what we're gonna do, so we made a little tube for our little centerpiece. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that seam is in the center. And then we're gonna do the exact same thing that we just did with this. We're gonna do a little finishing stitch on the edges of our little middle. And the other side. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold this in half. Actually, we're gonna fold this in half like this. And then we are going to do we're gonna sew these two ends together. So with our little seam that we just made in the middle, we're gonna flip it so that is on the outside, because then we're gonna flip it right side out. So we're gonna put that under there. Just like that. And then we're gonna give that a little trim because that's a little thick. And then we are just gonna roll that right side out just like that. So then our little seam is on the inside so then we don't see it. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to take our little ring. We are going to place it around our scarf or headband, just like so. And look, it already made a little, already kind of looks like a bow, and we're not quite finished yet. Last thing we have to do is we're going to take our big headband piece and we're gonna meet up our two ends just like this. And then we are going to sew those together. All right, there we go. Got our nice little headband.